Hey guys, Sarah here, and today I'm going to show you how to do some super basic isometric drawings. This is sort of the foundation for what you need to really create anything in the isometric illustration style. And it's going to be in, of course, Affinity Designer, because that's where the isometric illustration is the best. Not necessarily the best, but it's the easiest, let's be honest. So to start, I'm going to go File, New, and what am I going to go with? Maybe I'll go for like a print size. I'm going to go 2 inches. We can go standard 8.5 by 11. What do I want? I'm just going to go with 10 by 10, a nice square document because it's pretty. And I'm not going to print this, so I'm going to keep it at 72 dpi. And it's vector, so I can change that later anyway, and it shouldn't be too much of an issue. All right, so the first thing you want to do when creating isometric illustration is to go up to View, Studio, and Isometric. And then I'm just going to bring that over here because I need it to be off to the side. So, and what did I click? Sorry, I did that too fast. I went Grid Settings. Actually, I went Modify Grid, but you get the idea. So now we are in Grid and Snapping Access, and I'm going to go... if you move this out of the way, we've already got our, currently enormous isometric grid, but I'm going to bring that down to, I like 0.3. 0.3 is good, and then I'm going to give it 2 divisions, and that just creates some nice division lines right down the middle of each. And then I'm going to go close, and I mean, there's a lot of different settings in here you can change. This is pretty much the only 2 areas I ever really touch. I usually avoid gutter because it does that. And it looks cool, but I don't know why I would ever use that. So I'm gonna put that back to 0. And you can change the color of the grid lines and the subdivision lines down here, but I'm just gonna keep them where they are now because honestly, it's perfect. So let's go close. I said close, there we go. Okay, so really we're just going to be using some basic shapes and the isometric panel, which is all of here stuff. So first we're going to start drawing just a very basic square. So what do we do? Well, this is how you would, draw a square normally. Fortunately, and very helpfully, in Affinity Designer, we can actually decide to draw it in isometric style. So we actually just want to go edit in plane while we're drawing it. So if I click edit in plane, then it will actually draw the shape in the isometric style that I want it. So I'm actually just going to delete that and that first and click on the square again. And you'll notice how the grid changes. So we've got, when we want the front side, the grid goes to the front grid, front isometric grid style. This is the side and then the top. So it's ridiculously helpful for doing this style of grid in vector illustration. So we've got the front selected right now. So I'm going to draw right here with my edit in plane selected, and we've got a nice little box there. I'm going to take off the stroke because I don't want it to have a stroke. And then let's give it a nice color of super bright magenta pink. So that's nice. And as long as you have your snapping on, it should be able to snap like this, and you should be able to draw and move and rotate. Never mind, not rotate, but move and kind of do this, and it should stick with the snapping lines or the isometric lines you've got here. And now your snapping stuff is just up here. So I just turned off snapping and turning on snapping. And then these are all your snapping settings. So I've got snap to grid and snap to guides. I'd like to snap to absolutely everything because, when you're doing isometrics, you really want it snapping to absolutely everything. And you can zoom in, zoom in excessively close just to make sure everything is aligning. Because sometimes when you start doing isometrics, and you get really quick, you'll miss stuff, and that happens all the time. So I often have to go back and check and make sure that I'm doing, everything properly. So, giant pink, bright pinkness. Shall we keep it? Yes. Okay. Let's do another shape, another square rectangle. This time we're going to use the side plane. There we go. And I'm just going to start at this bottom corner here and draw it exactly the same way we did before. I just clicked on the side and we still have edit in plane, so it'll draw right in the plane there. And I'm going to give it that color, which is a little weird, but why not? Yeah, I'm good with that. And then I'm going to go to the last plane, which is top. And I'm just going to go and draw it so it fits nicely in there. And I'm going to give it an orange, maybe a yellow, maybe a different yellow, maybe a less horrible yellow. Come on, less horrible yellow. You can do it. Are we getting closer? I messed that up, didn't I? I didn't have it selected. Okay, there we go. So now we have our first very basic isometric shape. Hooray! It's a bit, I don't know, a bit childy, but we can do another shape. This one that has proper colors. So again, we're just going to go, I mean, you can start with any plane you want. We're going to start with the front again, and I'm just going to draw a little rectangle here. And I'm going to give it maybe a lovely blue color. And then I'm going to draw the side, another little rectangle, and I'm going to give it a much darker blue color. So I'm going to just go right there down, much darker. So this one will actually, this shape will actually look like it has some depth, or at least some proper coloring and depth. And then make this one quite a bit lighter. One thing I like to do with pretty much all my isometric illustrations is to have, basically I always have the side plane as the darkest and then the top plane as the lightest. So essentially all my light would be coming from the top, but maybe from like somewhere over here. So it's shining down this way. So you can see this in its full normal color. This is always the brightest and this is always the darkest. Now, if you want to add shadows, you also need to keep that in mind. So that's where your shadow is going to come in. So if I want to create a shadow just down here, I'm going to click on my top because I want to create it on the floor here, on the ground. And then I can make it, maybe I'll make it like a blacky color, black or maybe a gray. And I'll extend it a bit. And then what I usually do is I'll actually just go over to transparency tool over here and click on that. And then just drag it, and I always drag it from the wrong side, and then just bring it over like this. So it works basically like a gradient, but it's with transparency instead. And then you've got a nice little shadow. And if you want the shadow to be a little bit lighter, you can always change the opacity down a little bit. So it's very, very subtle. And if you really want to see what it looks like, go to your grid settings and just unclick that grid. Ooh, pretty. Nice. And I'm going to bring that back. And that's pretty much how you create just a tiny little shadow in there. And you can just copy that up here and put it here. Although with this shape, I didn't exactly make this the darkest plane. So we can switch those colors around because I think this magenta is a little bit darker than the other one. There we go. So we've got that nice, weird funhouse color kind of stuff going on there. And we have our very basic little blue box here. Now, if you want to add even more depth to the shape, you can use the fill tool. And I really love these tools. They're awesome. So basically you can just, and it works like a gradient tool as well. You just drag down, and I haven't mastered what direction to have this on yet, but I do try to keep it in the direction of the light, or where the light would sort of be hitting. So I think it would be, like that-ish. Yeah. So it just adds a little more depth to your isometric shape here, and you can do it on the top if you want, like that, and then on the front plane as well. And down, and I'll bring that down a bit because I still want there to be quite a bit of difference in these two tonal values. And let's take the grid off again. So pretty. Look at that. It's so beautiful. Yeah, so that is kind of the basic isometric illustration stuff. Obviously, you can get very complicated with all of this stuff. There are some excessively intricate isometric illustrations that are just mind-blowing. And obviously, these are not that, but this is showing you the basic-y things. And if you, I mean, if you can get very complicated here. You see those tiny little division lines. I'll use those for doing some more detailed stuff. So for example, if I want to put like a dip in my little box, I can do a little dip. So we'll go front plane, and where do I want the dip to start? Yeah, I think it maybe right there. So I'll do a little dip here. I know this it's not making a lot of sense right now, but it will, I promise. So I think that is roughly where I'm going to have it. And then the side plane, we will do from here, and I'll do that one in the darker values. That doesn't look right. Probably because it needs to be hidden. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to use those, but I need to see exactly where I want this dip. So basically there. So I'm going to have, maybe I'll just make this very, very light white for now. So I'm going to have it all dipped down. And let's see, there we go. Now we'll bring this back in, and I'm just going to bring that to front, and bring that back in, and bring that to front. And I'm going to extend that out, and that is extended out. And now obviously we, since we're using basic shapes, we can't really just hide that. So, I'm actually going to go click on that shape, go convert to curves, and now I can edit the individual points here and just make them kind of fit in there really nicely. Perfect. Did that work? If you're not sure, you just zoom in insanely close to find out. And I think we're good. So we've got like a little dip in our roof, and then we can give it another little thing here. Although I do already have one in there, don't I? I do. So we can make that that nice, maybe I'll make it even like a little bit lighter. And if you want, you can also bring that shadow up here as well. So we have a shadow from here just on the top of our little roof thingy. There we go. Beautiful. And we're going to go modify grid and uncheck that grid. So a super, super basic isometric shape. Obviously, if you have a smaller grid, I'll go back to that. If you can have, obviously, smaller grid lines, you are going to get some really, really intricate stuff. So if I make the, if I make it really teeny tiny and align everything, then I can draw some very intricate little details on here. You can add some texturing to your walls. You can create like 1,000 divisions. I'm not actually sure if you can do that. Can I do that? Is my computer going to die? It might. You know what? We'll just create 50. I think it's showing me, but I think they're too small. So we're just going to go back to 2 so I don't break things. And yeah, you can see how intricate that is. I'm going to go back to 0.3 because that's where we were before. And everything fits nicely. Hooray. So remember, if you do resize any of these, like if I want to make this a bit teenier, then you want to hold shift, and it's a bit trickier to actually get it to fit back into the grid. So I don't usually like doing that too much. So where possible, just have the grid, finalize before you kind of start things. Well, for the first few times, it's going to be a bit tricky because you don't really know what size you want to have it at, but you'll get used to it. Did that one fit? Nope. Look at how that one did not fit at all. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. Okay. All right, well, let's take this off because I think we are done. We've got 2 little blue boxes with our dips, and you can go back in and change the shadows because I didn't really adjust those 2. And you can do whatever you want. Apply textures or just delete this weird shape up here because it's freaking me out. And that's about it. Yay. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you learned how to do the basics of isometric illustration. If you have any questions, please let me know. There's obviously a lot more details about isometric illustration, but these are the basics that you kind of need to build on everything. Just using specifically in Affinity Designer, the isometric tools, there's a lot you can do to just make really, really cool stuff. You can even use text on, let's see, go away. You can make really any normal sized anything you want. And then you can do this and you go fit to plane and you can just make it kind of fit in wherever you want. So there's a lot of really cool, powerful stuff going on here that you can do. So you can create like intricate little wall murals and put them on your isometric wall, which I think is very cool and I have yet to do, but you know, maybe one day. But otherwise, yeah, it's pretty cool. You can use this to flip in place, which I don't really use too often. Rotate like that. Again, I don't use it too often. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's very simple to use. But you do want to experiment with this a bit, just so you can see what is possible with isometric illustration and what you want to create with it for your own specific design or illustration purposes, because it's very cool. All right, so thank you so much for watching. If there's any other tutorials for Affinity Designer or any of the Adobe programs that you want me to do, please just let me know. Try to do some basic stuff, as well as probably some more complicated stuff later on as well. So yeah, whatever you want to know, just let me know. I am also still in the process of learning Affinity Designer. I've only been using it for maybe about a year now. And mostly it's been for isometric stuff, as you can probably tell by my channel. So yeah, whatever you want, just let me know. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.